I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Hi, I'm Luke Ryan for JoBlo.com, and in this video we're going to be counting down the top 10 best superhero sequels. Let's begin. Number 10, Deadpool 2. The first Deadpool was a surprise to everyone and did the impossible by managing to stand out from a crowded slate of superhero movies. There were Avengers and even fellow X-Men taking up much of the glory, but Deadpool embraced something no other comic book movie had: gleeful violence, unrelenting and always hilarious meta humor, and a career-defining performance by Ryan Reynolds that makes you forget all about that weird green spacesuit he once wore. Okay, maybe we can never totally forget that. The sequel had a tough task of taking everything that seemed fresh and groundbreaking in the first and make it still seem unique only 2 years later, on top of delivering the same amount of heart that drove the first film. Deadpool 2 was everything its first movie was: crass, grotesque, constantly hilarious, self-deprecating, surprising, and heartfelt, and all wrapped up in a glossier, more expensive, blood-soaked bow. Writers Paul Wernick, Rhett Reese and Reynolds understood that bigger doesn't always mean better, and though they doubled down where they needed to, they ensured that Deadpool remained just as important of a character as Wade Wilson, and underneath the gore and sex jokes is an endearing story about love and family. Deadpool 2 ensures the character is here to stay, so it's best to accept him now as your lord and master.
Ooh! Yeah! Your bullets, they're really fast.
Number 9, X2 X-Men United. Sequels of any kind are often instantly disregarded as lesser than their predecessor, because how on earth could you possibly recapture the magic that came before? X2 is one of the first big budget sequels to slice that notion to shreds with a pair of adamantium claws. The superhero follow-up to 2000's X-Men improved upon the predecessor in every way, delivering bigger, better action, a larger sense of scope, and a richer exploration of the iconic characters. Instead of adding a cavalcade of new heroes to the mix, the movie stuck with the same primary cast from the first movie, expanding their relationships and digging deeper into their personalities. Of course, there was a new addition in Nightcrawler, and we should all just take a moment right now to re-admire his badass intro. Brian Cox makes for an excellent fiendish villain in William Stryker, and Kelly Hu is brilliant and lethal as Lady Deathstroke. X2 improved on the formula and expanded on the world in thrilling ways, proving the first movie was no fluke and that the X-Men were here to stay. I mean, nothing could stop them now, right?
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
Number 8, Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok deserves to be put on a unique pedestal in the superhero genre for one simple reason. It proved that you don't need to recast the character, retell their origin story, or give them a grim makeover to make a character seem fresh again. All you need is a bit of creativity, a willingness to change, and a crazy New Zealander behind the camera. The third Thor movie combined all these ingredients and gave the God of Thunder a much needed, literal head-to-toe makeover. Literally, they had to shave his head and remove one of his eyes. After being put in the shadows by the likes of Captain America and Iron Man for years, this bold new direction was a very necessary deviation from the formula that plagued the first two movies. It was a risk, but who would have guessed the character's triumphant third outing would be such a colourful, wacky, endlessly entertaining space romp from the mind behind What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilderpeople. Thor was made the star of his own show for once, and Hemsworth got to bring his underutilized sense of humor front and center, making Thor everyone's new favorite Avenger. No, the story elements aren't the strongest of the MCU canon, but you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who walked out of the theater without a big grin on their face, ready to declare Thor the greatest hero ever. And that helps, because he certainly isn't the strongest Avenger. Number 7, X-Men Days of Future Past. After a few years of middling sequels like X-Men The Last Stand, The Wolverine, and X-Men Origins Wolverine, the franchise was brought back to life with the stunning X-Men First Class. With the new cast, including James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, and Jennifer Lawrence, firmly in place as younger versions of Charles Xavier, Magneto, and Mystique, the iconic Days of Future Past storyline could commence. The time travel storyline meshed the new crew with the old, as Hugh Jackman's Wolverine was sent back to the past to ensure the mutant hunting Sentinels were never created. The result is the most bold and adventurous X-Men movie to date, featuring a thematic storyline that keeps the stakes high and the characters constantly engaging. McAvoy gives his best performance in his tenure as Professor X, bringing to life the broken professor who needs to learn to hope again. Everyone is on top form, and the movie features some of the heaviest and suitably exciting imagery of the series, taking one of the greatest X-Men stories ever told and giving it the respect it deserved. Number 6, Spider-Man 2. The first outing with Spidey from director Sam Raimi and starring Tobey Maguire was a fun, colourful comic book flick that brought the genre roaring back to life. Of course, Sony didn't want to wait to keep cashing in on this money cow, releasing the sequel 2 years later. The webhead proved his first outing was no fluke, and in this beloved sequel was given a proper examination of what it means to take on the responsibility of being a superhero. Peter Parker can't keep burning the candle at both ends and tries to have a normal life by being Spider-Man no more. But, like Uncle Ben said, with great power comes great responsibility. He has to come back into the game to fight off one of Marvel's best villains ever in Dr. Octopus, played by Alfred Molina. This is the most dazzling of the Raimi-Maguire Spider-Man movies and illustrates the complexities, sensitivity, and heroism of the title hero. This movie is so good, it would have been fine had it been the last one for its star and director. Sadly, it wasn't. Number 5, Captain America Civil War. Mark Millar's Civil War storyline is one of the most epic and beloved in all of Marvel Comics, with virtually every character they could find joining a side and fighting one another over the Superhero Registration Act. Needless to say, turning this into a movie would have seemed unimaginable years ago, but the MCU has proven they can take the unimaginable and spin it into cinematic gold. Acting as a follow-up to Captain America the Winter Soldier, Civil War brings virtually every MCU hero into the fold for an epic showdown that rips the team apart. All except for Thor and Hulk, who were, busy elsewhere. At the center of the conflict is Iron Man, who believes government involvement is needed to reduce collateral damage and keep the team in check, and Captain America, who believes that the same government involvement eliminates the team's ability to do what's necessary when the world is in danger. Throw in the re-emergence of Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, and a series of events that unfolds into an epic Avenger versus Avenger showdown. What makes the movie such a strong entry into the Marvel canon is how, despite all the characters, everyone is given a stake in the matter and time to develop and grow. The film marks the biggest turning point in all of the MCU so far, and directors Joe and Anthony Russo delivered a thoughtful, complex, action-packed and often hilarious superhero epic that honored not only the source material, but the characters at its core.
I could do this all day.
Number 4, Avengers Infinity War. Marvel had achieved the impossible by bringing numerous heroes together in the first Avengers movie, keeping a promise they made to film and comic book fans 4 years prior. But that was child's play compared to the expectations set before them with Avengers Infinity War, a movie that brings together dozens of heroes in one epic adventure against one big baddie, Thanos. Some may say the expectations were too high and that the necessary spectacle is too much, but Marvel has crafted fewer movies in their history as jaw-dropping, spectacular, emotionally challenging and often hysterical than in Infinity War. The movie is until Avengers 4, the ultimate comic book movie featuring countless memorable scenes, dazzling set pieces, and the best villain we've seen in the MCU after Golden Boy Loki. Josh Brolin is intimidating and convincing as the Mad Titan, with motion capture so vivid it captures every nuance of his performance. He's insane and complex, and, like the movie, lives up to the hype. Even with movies like Thor Ragnarok, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, and others in their ranks, Infinity War is able to dazzle us in ways we've never been dazzled before, only for the next moment to cause us to gasp and grip our theatre chairs. This is superhero filmmaking at its very finest, and Avengers 4 is going to have a pretty tough job matching it.
I'm Peter, by the way.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, you're using your made-up names. Then I am Spider-Man.
Number 3. Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Before The Winter Soldier, the MCU movies were mostly comic book films as we'd seen them before, albeit done of a mostly higher quality than similar movies. But with this sequel to Captain America: The First Avenger, we got a taste of Marvel exploring with other genres, putting Cap into the center of a political thriller that explores thought-provoking themes. Steve Rogers is a patriot through and through, and Winter Soldier forces him to square off against the institutions he dedicated himself to for the sake of what's right. What happened in this movie sowed the seeds of what was to come for the MCU by eliminating S.H.I.E.L.D. and helping to define the movie as the first real MCU game changer. Not a slouch in the spectacle department either, the movie features some of the most thrilling action scenes in the franchise, taking from movies like Heat to deliver intense sequences that remain as fresh and exhilarating as ever. Expertly crafted by the brothers Joe and Anthony Russo, Winter Soldier stands as not only the best sequel in the MCU, but perhaps their best movie yet. Number 2. Logan. After 2 standalone movies that range between terrible and forgettable, it seems the iconic Wolverine was doomed to solo movie mediocrity. But it didn't need to be that way, which is why writer-director James Mangold, star Hugh Jackman, and Studio Fox decided to go for broke and deliver a movie fans had been waiting for. A bloody, R-rated, brutal iteration of Old Man Logan that would send Jackman out on the highest of notes. It was a bold step into uncharted waters, delivering a gritty superhero drama starring one of the most iconic characters to grace the screen, but the gamble paid off in spades. What we got was a dramatic, heartbreaking, challenging, gorgeous, and suitably gory comic book western that explored Logan like we've never seen before. This Logan is vulnerable and looks like he could be knocked down with a stiff breeze. Hugh Jackman turns in his best work yet as the broken and beaten Wolverine, and Patrick Stewart delivers an equally tremendous performance as Charles Xavier. These 2 cursed men are given a chance to do one last good thing when faced with saving a young mutant, X-23, who has the ferocity, anger, and claws of a younger Logan. This is an unforgettable story of redemption and sacrifice that sends off Jackman's character with grace, honor, and buckets of blood. Number 1. The Dark Knight. Did you really have any doubt in the world about how this is going to turn out? Of course, The Dark Knight tops this list. Christopher Nolan's follow-up to the impressive Batman Begins is the godfather of all superhero movies. A perfect example of what can be done with the format when everything, from the direction, the action, the music, visual effects, cinematography, editing, and everything else is, for lack of a better phrase, on f***ing point. Digging deeper into darker themes about what it means to be a hero in an increasingly dangerous world, The Dark Knight acts as both a richly layered crime drama and a logical progression in the story of Batman and Bruce Wayne. Filled with countless iconic scenes and thrilling set pieces, the movie elevated the genre to a level of art that seems impossible to match, and there's one performance we can thank for helping it get to that next level.
I thought my jokes were bad.
And why do you want to kill me?
I don't want to kill you.
No, you complete Me.
Heath Ledger's Joker is the supreme among all comic book movie villains, if not all movie villains in general, thanks to the actor's total immersion into the twisted, anarchic mind of the clown prince of crime. Even under all the makeup, there are nuances to his performance that can be discovered even after a dozen viewings, and his turns from intense to crazy make his work endlessly enjoyable to watch. Put the terrific storytelling, the expert technical elements, a mature tone, and a handful of winning performances from the entire cast together, and you have, almost inarguably, the greatest superhero movie of all time. Oh, and The Dark Knight Rises was pretty good too.